So a question that I get a lot is rest days. This is something that a lot of people struggle with, including myself. So I'm not only explaining all of this to you, I'm also telling myself this as well. But three things that we will discuss: the importance of it, how often should it happen, and should it be spaced out or should it be consecutive days? So talking about the importance of it real quick. We're going to do a brief overview of it. It doesn't need to be super in depth because we could spend probably hours upon hours explaining the importance physiologically of a rest day. But essentially, when you're exercising, and when we define exercise, we're discussing resistance training, high levels of aerobic exercise, things like that. We're not necessarily meaning lower intensity things as far as if you walk regularly and that's all that your exercise is, which is fine. We're discussing high levels of resistance training, strength training, HIIT training, maybe some body weight stuff in there, things of that nature, where your muscles are being worked. So when you exercise, what happens is it creates small little microscopic tears within the muscle. And so what needs to happen is the muscles need to be able to have time to recover and replenish and rebuild those microscopic tears. That's where rest days come in. So I'll give you this analogy real quick, and then we'll move on to how often and should they be spaced out consecutive. Think about, you got a cut. Now for some people this might be really, really gross to hear, but it works. So just bear with me. Say you got a cut and you have a scab, you start to build up a scab, and then you pick it, right? And so you start picking it and you reopen the scab. Again, super gross. I'm feeling queasy discussing this with you, but it's a good analogy. So then you leave it alone for a little bit, or you just keep playing with it. Every time you play with it, the scab reopens, and it just takes longer and longer and longer for that wound to heal, right? Or that cut or that scrape or whatever you want to do to make you feel better about this analogy. It's the same thing with muscle, right? Muscle, as it's being worked in exercise, continues to be broken down, but needs time to be rebuilt. Same with the scab. The scab needs time to heal so that the skin is stronger and can possibly withstand any other scrapes and cuts that you might get later on down the road. So again, muscle is the exact same thing. Muscle starts to be broken down during exercise. It needs time to rebuild, replenish, all those things. That's rest. Okay, that's exercise, muscle, and essentially rest. That's the importance of it. So the question is, how often should you take rest days? How often should they happen? And there's no clear cut or specific answer. If I had all of the answers as far as like, you should work out 4 times a week, you should have a rest day here, I would have a magic pill to all of it, and it would be amazing. However, that's not the case. What I will recommend to you is that you start to listen and understand how your body is feeling during exercise. If you had a really hard workout on Monday and you're feeling tired and you're feeling exhausted and your muscles are sore, it may not be the best to work out again on Tuesday. Same thing with like on Wednesday. If you have a really hard workout on Wednesday and you're extremely tired, you didn't sleep well, your muscles are super sore, it may not be the best idea to work out on Thursday. So, with that being said, if on Monday you worked out, it was a strenuous exercise, but then on Tuesday you still feel pretty good, you feel okay, you slept well, you don't have a ton of muscle soreness, then it's okay to then exercise again. There are some people, high-level athletes, for sure, high-level athletes who will work out almost every single day, but they still have rest days in there. Sunday might be their rest day. They might have just lower intensity days where they're not necessarily doing weightlifting. They might just be doing small, like either an outdoor activity or they're doing light cardio. There's a lot of things that can go into this as far as knowing heart rate zones, and it can get really complicated and really fancy, and maybe we'll make a video on all that later. But what I will say is, start to get in tune with your body, right? If you're overly exhausted, if you're super tired, muscles are super sore, either do a lower intensity type exercise or take the day off to rest, and that's fine. Again, the muscles need time to rebuild and replenish themselves. They need rest days. So how often should they happen? Again, get in tune with your body. With my clients, I typically see them every other day, or they're programmed every other day for a workout. They're not necessarily programmed every single day. I do have clients that do work out every single day, but that's just because of their schedule. Okay, so that was how often, spaced or consecutive. We talked about that a little bit, but should they be spaced out? I recommend that they should be spaced out. Should they be consecutive? My only concern with consecutive rest days is that, say you take off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're that less motivated to get back into it on Monday. So I wouldn't recommend any more than 2 consecutive days of rest. I would recommend, again, maybe working out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at a higher intensity. But if you still want to be active, Tuesday and Thursday, doing lower intensity, and then maybe taking off Saturday and Sunday, or going out if the weather is getting nice or whenever, going out and doing an outdoor activity just to keep moving, maybe stretching, maybe doing a yoga class, whatever that might look like for you. So I don't recommend consecutive rest days, just because motivational levels start to decline the more rest days that you take. So I say space them out, plan accordingly to that. My programs, if they're not meeting with me one-on-one, just the online programming, they have every other day. They're only programmed 4 days a week of resistance training and maybe some cardio days or aerobic capacity days. And then they have Saturday and Sunday to make up any missed workouts, or if they're feeling really motivated, to do some kind of lighter cardio or lighter intensity days on the weekends. So that's just from my personal experience, from my experience with my clients, what works best for them to adhere for longer periods of time for exercise. I will also say that in a lot of the programs that I create we have 4 weeks of consistent exercise, and then they have 1 week, which would be the 5th week, of an entire recovery. So they'll do more mobility type work. They might have some yoga in there. They might have light cardio days. So that gives their body a chance to recover, and then for their next phase be able to get into consistent exercise. Now, if you take group classes, so this is, I know a lot of people who follow me, a lot of people that talk with me on a regular basis take group classes. So with that being said, if you're in a group class setting, whether it be a body pump class or something of that, maybe a CrossFit class, or just a simple boot camp class, whatever that might look like for you, it's okay to go every single day. But again, learn how your body reacts to exercise and become a little bit more in tune to what your body is telling you as if it's tired. So say, again, Monday, you had a really hard workout. It's okay to go back on Tuesday, just maybe decrease and not use as heavy weights that day, or maybe instead of going to a class, going out for a light run or a walk that day, depending on how your body is feeling. Again, if you're also in a group setting, you should be programmed, and it should be programmed to where you have lighter intensity days, higher intensity days, just purely strength days, recovery weeks, deload weeks, however you want to phrase it. The person who is doing your programming for that gym or for those classes should be taking those things into account, as the fact of, like, most people do need a rest and recovery if they're going every single day of the week. So importance, it's super important. We all need to rest. Again, this includes myself. I had to buy a Whoop for it to tell me that I'm not recovering well because I didn't believe anybody and I didn't believe myself. So don't get as low as I did to where you need to have a whole nother fitness tracker tell you that you need to recover. But they're super important. Don't overtrain. We can get into overtraining in a whole nother topic. How often should it happen? Just learn and listen to your body, right? If it's super sore, super tired, you didn't sleep well, maybe it's not the best idea to go work out that day. So if you have any questions, anything that you want me to discuss, I hope you guys found this super, super helpful. Make sure that you share this with other people who need to hear about rest days. And I'm thinking of a few people in my head already for them specifically. But if you guys have any questions, you just let me know.